Some people leave your life completely, but somehow they never leave your mind. Why does that happen? And why can't you just make it stop? There's this strange thing that happens after someone walks out of your life. You expect it to hurt for a while. You expect to miss them. You expect some sleepless nights. But then weeks pass, maybe months, and somehow they're still there. Not in your life, but in your head every single day. Like a song you didn't choose but can't stop hearing. That's what happened to Jake. She wasn't his girlfriend. They never really put a label on it, but for almost a year, Sophia was the person he talked to every morning. The first person he'd text when something funny happened. The person whose voice he knew better than almost anyone else's. She had this way of saying his name that made him feel like everything was okay, like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. And then one day, she just pulled back, slowly at first. Replies got shorter, the calls stopped, then the texts, and Jake kept telling himself she was just busy, that things would go back to normal. He waited. He gave it time, but the silence just kept growing. No big fight, no dramatic ending, no explanation, just silence. And Jake did what most of us do. He waited a little longer. He checked his phone more times than he'd ever admit to anyone. He'd pick it up, put it down, pick it up again. He reread their old conversations, looking for some clue he might have missed. Something he said, something he did, some moment where things changed, and he just didn't notice it at the time. He'd hear a song while driving and just go completely quiet because it reminded him of something she said months ago. He'd be in the middle of a normal day, laughing with friends, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, a memory of her would just appear, uninvited, unexplained. Maybe you felt this too. The thing that gets you isn't the big moments. It's never the big moments, it's the small ones. The inside jokes that nobody else would understand. The random 2 a.m. conversations that somehow went deeper than most conversations you've had in your entire life. The way she'd call him out on something and be completely annoyingly right about it. Those are the things that stick, and you can't plan for them. You can't prepare for how much weight those little things carry until the person is gone. But here's what nobody really explains. Why do some people stay in your mind long after they're gone, even when you know they're not coming back, even when part of you has genuinely started to move on? Why does the brain keep going back to the same person, the same memories, the same unanswered questions? And that's where something really interesting happens in psychology. Your brain doesn't store people the way you store a contact in your phone. It doesn't file them away neatly under a name. It stores feelings, moments, emotional imprints. And the stronger the emotional charge attached to a person, the more joy, comfort, excitement, or pain they brought, the deeper that imprint goes into your memory. Sophia wasn't just a person to Jake. She was a feeling. She was the warmth of being understood without having to explain yourself. She was the excitement of someone who genuinely wanted to know what he thought about things. She was the comfort of consistency, knowing someone was there. And when she left, his brain didn't just lose a person. It lost an entire emotional world that had quietly become part of his daily life. That's the part people don't talk about enough, but that's not even the strange part. The strange part is what the brain does next. When something feels unresolved, when there's no closure, no explanation, no clean ending, the brain goes into a loop. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik Effect. Your mind holds on to unfinished things far more powerfully than completed ones. It keeps replaying them, reviewing them, searching for an answer that never came, trying to make sense of something that just never made sense. Jake didn't miss Sophia because he was weak. He missed her because his brain was literally trying to finish an incomplete story. It was doing exactly what it was built to do: find resolution, find the ending. And there wasn't one, so it kept searching. Every time he picked up his phone, every time he almost typed her name and then didn't, every time he drove past a place they'd been together. That was his brain saying, we're not done processing this yet. We're still looking for the answer. If you've ever stayed awake at 2 a.m. thinking about someone who was probably sleeping just fine, subscribe, because these are the conversations nobody teaches us, the ones that actually explain what's happening inside us and why we feel things so deeply, even when we don't fully understand them. Most people think the answer to missing someone is distraction. Stay busy, hit the gym, go out more, meet new people, and honestly, that helps. It genuinely does, but it doesn't finish the story for your brain. It just delays it, pushes it to a quieter moment. And quieter moments always come. Jake tried that. He threw himself into work, new routines, new goals. And for a while it worked. People around him thought he was doing great. Maybe he even believed it sometimes. But then he'd come home to a quiet apartment at the end of the day. And Sophia was right back in his head. Same memories, same questions, same loop. Because distraction doesn't resolve things. It just postpones them. The real shift came when Jake stopped trying to avoid his own thoughts and started actually sitting with them, not obsessing. guessing, not going in circles, but genuinely asking himself honest questions, not about her, about himself. What was it about this specific connection that had meant so much? What need was being met that he hadn't even fully admitted to himself? Was it the feeling of being truly understood by someone? Was it the consistency, having someone who just showed up every day without being asked? Was it the way she made him feel like his thoughts were worth listening to, like his presence actually mattered to someone? Because here's the thing, most people never stop to realize. Sometimes we don't miss the person as much as we miss how they made us feel about ourselves. Sometimes what we're grieving isn't them, it's the version of ourselves that existed when they were around. That's a hard thing to sit with, but it might be the most honest thing. Jake eventually realized something that changed everything. He'd been holding on to Sophia because with her, he felt like a version of himself he genuinely liked. He was calmer, more open, more himself. And when she left somewhere deep down, he was terrified that version of himself had left with her, that maybe he needed her to be that person, that without her, he'd go back to being someone smaller, someone less. That was the real fear underneath all of it. Not losing her, losing himself. And the moment he actually named that fear, and the moment he looked at it directly instead of running from it, something quietly shifted inside him. Not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly he started asking a different question. Instead of asking why she left, he started asking what it would look like to become that version of himself on his own, without needing someone else to bring it out, without waiting for the right person to make him feel worthy of his own light. That's the turning point nobody talks about when they talk about moving on. It's not when you stop missing someone. It's not when you stop thinking about them. It's when you stop needing them to feel like yourself. Some people come into your life and they don't stay, but they leave something behind. Not always pain, sometimes clarity, sometimes a mirror that shows you something about yourself you hadn't looked at directly before. Sometimes they show you what you're actually looking for, what you actually need, what you actually deserve. Sophia didn't stay in Jake's life, but in a quiet, unexpected way, she helped him understand himself more honestly than he had in years. She showed him what it felt like to be seen. And once you know what that feels like, you stop settling for connections that don't offer it. That doesn't make the missing go away instantly, but it gives it a meaning. It turns the pain into something useful, something you carry forward instead of something that just holds you back. And maybe that's the real reason certain people stay in your mind long after they're gone. Not because you're broken, not because you can't move on, not because you're weak or too emotional or too attached, but because something in you is still learning, still growing, still becoming. Let it. Just don't let the weight of who's gone stop you from stepping toward what's still waiting for you.